My first encounter with Vanessa came when I dropped off a welcome basket, local IPA, gourmet chocolates, and a Crestview Meadows guide. I'm no social butterfly, but Midwest manners are hardwired. Vanessa, draped in designer athleisure and dripping with jewelry that screamed, "I spent your annual salary on this necklace," accepted the basket with a smile that felt rehearsed. "How sweet," she said, her eyes scanning me like I was a mildly interesting spreadsheet. She invited me in for a tour of her newly renovated home, a 4-bedroom colonial transformed into what she clearly saw as a suburban Versailles. "This chandelier is custom Swarovski," she boasted, gesturing to a fixture that could have lit a small stadium. "And this kitchen island, imported Carrara marble, took 8 months to ship. My husband, Victor, insisted on the best for our forever home. He's a corporate attorney, you know, tops in his field." She dropped his profession 4 times in 10 minutes, each mention paired with a smug nod. When she asked about my cute little place, her tone turned cute into an insult sharper than a paper cut. Learning I was an engineer barely registered on her radar. Unless you were a CEO or a senator, you were background noise to Vanessa Caldwell. That interaction should have been my warning siren, but I chalked it up to new neighbor awkwardness. Big mistake. Within weeks, Vanessa launched a takeover of Crestview Meadows HOA with the precision of a corporate raider. She charmed the board with lavish dinner parties, where the wine cost more than my monthly mortgage and her name-dropping was relentless. 6 weeks after moving in, she was elected HOA vice president, ousting Margaret, a retired librarian who'd served for a decade. Margaret's sudden resignation, citing family matters, raised eyebrows. Later, I learned from a neighbor that Vanessa had dug up dirt on Margaret's daughter's old shoplifting charge and used it as leverage that I stayed out of the HOA circus, focused on my job designing power systems for commercial buildings and unwinding with online gaming sessions. HOA meetings seemed like a voluntary descent into bureaucratic hell, and my motto was simple: pay my dues, follow the rules, live my life. That is, until my electric bill arrived 1 month after Vanessa's arrival. Opening that bill was like a punch to the chest, $450, nearly triple my usual $150. I called the utility company, assuming a clerical error. The rep confirmed the reading and suggested a faulty appliance. I spent a weekend with an electricity usage monitor, testing every outlet, appliance, and light bulb in my house. Nothing. My neighbors on the other side, the Wilsons, a retired couple, reported steady bills. Whatever was draining my power was unique to my property. The answer came at 2:17 a.m. when my security camera pinged my phone. Groggy, I checked the footage and nearly fell out of bed. There was Vanessa, in silk pajamas and a cashmere robe, sneaking across my backyard with a heavy-duty extension cord. She plugged it into my outdoor outlet, the one I used for my lawnmower, and ran it along our shared fence, hidden by shrubs she'd pushed the HOA to plant for aesthetic harmony. The cord connected to her Tesla, parked strategically in her side driveway. She glanced around like a cat burglar, ensured the setup was secure, and scurried back inside. I rewatched the footage, jaw on the floor, as my quiet neighbor transformed into an electricity-stealing mastermind. The next morning, I marched to her door, phone in hand. Vanessa answered in a tennis skirt and a smile that could have sold toothpaste. "Vanessa, we need to talk about you charging your Tesla with my outlet," I said, holding up the video. Her smile didn't flicker. "Ethan, I have no idea what you mean," she said with a laugh, like I'd accused her of stealing my garden gnomes. I played the footage, crystal clear, her face unmistakable. Her expression hardened. "That could be anyone," she snapped. "And if your shoddy wiring is spiking your bills, maybe upgrade instead of blaming me. Property values matter in Crestview, you know." Before shutting the door, she added, "As HOA vice president, I'd be happy to review your fence height. It's 3 inches over code." The threat was clear. Back off, or she'd make my life miserable. I wasn't about to let Vanessa bully me. I installed lockboxes on my outlets and added more security cameras. Problem solved, right? Wrong. 2 days later, an HOA violation notice arrived, citing unauthorized exterior modifications. The lockboxes had to go. The notice was signed by Leonard Brooks, the HOA inspector, a 60-year-old former car salesman who treated his clipboard like a scepter. When he showed up to enforce the removal, I showed him the footage of Vanessa's theft. "That's a neighbor dispute," he said, unmoved. "The HOA doesn't handle that. But these lockboxes, definitely my jurisdiction." As I removed them under his stare, I noticed his new leather loafers and a whiff of pricey cologne, perks, I later learned, From Vanessa's board appreciation cocktail hours, frustrated, I attended my first HOA meeting, held in the community clubhouse. About 35 residents sat in creaky folding chairs, sipping bad coffee. When I raised the electricity theft issue, Vanessa cut me off. "Point of order," she said, voice dripping with authority. "Personal disputes don't belong on the general agenda. Submit them in writing." The HOA president, Harold, a nervous accountant dreaming of retirement in Arizona, nodded. "Procedure must be followed," he mumbled. Vanessa shot me a triumphant smirk, then came her masterstroke. A proposal for 4 electric vehicle charging stations in the community parking lot, billed as a green initiative, to boost property values. The catch? The electricity costs would be split across all residents' HOA dues. One station was planned right next to her house, ensuring her Tesla charged for free while we footed the bill. After the meeting, I reviewed the proposal and confirmed my fears. Vanessa had turned the entire neighborhood into her personal power grid, and most residents didn't even realize it. I dove into research, HOA bylaws, local ordinances, electrical codes, like a general preparing for battle. My army training kicked in. Intelligence is as critical as firepower. I learned HOAs had power over aesthetics but limited control over utilities, especially with safety concerns. My investigation led me to Evelyn Harper, a 70-year-old widow who'd lived in Crestview since its founding. Over tea in her cozy kitchen, she laid out Vanessa's playbook. "That Caldwell woman's got the board wrapped around her finger," Evelyn said, her eyes sharp as she flipped through a notebook of HOA records. She revealed how Vanessa had pressured past board members to resign, often with thinly veiled threats. Through Evelyn, I met Josh and Emily Carter, a couple in their 40s with 2 kids. Josh, a high school science teacher, and Emily, a pediatric nurse, were struggling with rising HOA fees. "Another increase, and we're cutting Mia's dance lessons," Emily said, her voice tight. Their daughter, an 8-year-old with a gap-toothed grin, giggled as she watched my security footage, calling Vanessa the electricity bandit. Together, we formed a small resistance. I installed a power monitoring device on my panel, logging Vanessa's nightly 75 kilowatt-hour draws, $300 monthly from my pocket, now shifting to the HOAs. Josh and Emily gathered signatures from 25 households opposing the charging stations without individual metering, while Evelyn dug up bylaw violations to bolster our case. By the next HOA meeting, I had a dossier, videos, data, cost breakdowns, and signatures. But the night before, Evelyn called, furious. "Meetings postponed, projector issues," they claim. I saw Vanessa's Tesla at Harold's house. "She's scheming." Watching Vanessa whisper to board members at the community mailbox the next day, I realized playing by their rules was a losing game. I gave Vanessa one final chance. I presented my evidence to Victor, her husband, a distracted attorney who looked like he'd rather be golfing with clients than dealing with me. He skimmed my folder, barely glancing at the videos. "It's just a few bucks," he said, waving it off. "Sort it out with Vanessa." He shut the door, citing a call with Singapore. That afternoon, Vanessa stormed across our lawns. "How dare you bother Victor," she hissed. "He's one of the top lawyers in Washington. One word, and your little tech job vanishes. Or maybe we'll report your creepy cameras as harassment." Her threats didn't stop there. She spread rumors I was unhinged, using my military past to paint me as a paranoid stalker. Neighbors started avoiding me, and our resistance meeting dwindled to just Evelyn, Josh, and Emily. Then Evelyn dropped a bombshell. Vanessa had pushed through emergency landscaping near my house, with noisy 7 a.m. work and costs tacked onto my dues. It was war. In my garage, surrounded by tools and circuit boards, I designed my counterstrike, a smart power protection system, SPS, an industrial-grade device to stop power theft. It monitored usage, detected anomalies, and issued 3-stage warnings, flashing lights and beeps, before a controlled voltage fluctuation and shutdown. I built it to code, with a weatherproof enclosure, battery backup, and a glowing warning sign, protected by SPS. Unauthorized use may damage devices. A city inspector friend confirmed its legality. Any damage would come from ignoring clear warnings. Vanessa would have to try hard to hurt her Tesla. After installing the SPS, I watched Vanessa spot the sign and scoff. She tried other outlets but found them too slow. When the HOA installed her high-capacity community outlets, she plugged in, smirking at my camera. My SPS logged her drawing 75 kilowatt-hours nightly, costing the HOA $500 monthly. The night before the rescheduled meeting, she plugged in at 1 a.m., cranking her Tesla to max charge. The SPS's warnings flashed and beeped. Vanessa, unfazed, increased the power draw, daring the system. After 3 ignored warnings, the SPS triggered a fluctuation and cut power. Her Tesla's screen lit up with an error. At dawn, Vanessa pounded on my door, screaming about her bricked car. "It's $22,000 to fix the battery system," she raged. I calmly showed her the SPS documentation, explaining its safety features and her ignored warnings. Victor arrived, read the specs, and turned to her. "You saw the warnings and did what?" he muttered, his lawyer brain clocking the liability. I laid out her theft and HOA manipulations, hinting at fraud. "We'll talk at home," he told her, dragging her away as her Tesla was towed. The special HOA meeting was a packed house, neighbors buzzing with tension. Evelyn distributed her annotated records, exposing Vanessa's violations. I presented my evidence, videos, graphs, and costs. "Vanessa's been charging her Tesla on our dime," I said, showing her $500 monthly drain. Residents gasped as I played the footage of her ignoring the SPS warnings. Josh stood, voice shaking. "We cut our son's soccer because of these fees. Was it all for her car?" Others chimed in, retirees, young families, all hit by the costs. Vanessa's defense, claiming I harassed her, crumbled. Evelyn moved for her removal, $7,000 restitution, and a new election. The vote was a landslide. Vanessa was out, Josh was nominated president, and the room erupted in relief. Vanessa and Victor sold their house at a loss and fled to a gated community in Oregon. Leonard resigned, Harold retired early, and Josh's board brought transparency with metered charging stations I helped design. The community thrived, Evelyn's garden bloomed, Josh's son won a soccer championship, and new neighbors moved in, respectful and friendly. Every time I passed the charging station, I grin. Vanessa's entitlement cost her dearly, proving that an engineer with a trap is a Karen's worst nightmare. As Evelyn said, "Karma's got perfect aim, no Wi-Fi needed." Thanks for diving into HOA Nightmares Exposed.